We're back with the Council Roundup, brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. Head West Subs. And previous segment, we heard a bit about, some presentations that were given, including from the treasurer about how much money's in the city's coffers. We also heard a little bit about Horace Mann looking for $600,000 in TIF money to get for various projects they're looking for, and that was put on the consent calendar. But one thing that we've been watching is this idea of e-surfboards. Full disclosure, I've ridden one of these. In particular, I've ridden the one that is from Matt Shearer and Surf Springfield on Lake Springfield, but apparently there's an effort to keep these from operating on Lake Springfield. So it was brought up a couple of months ago, put on the agenda, but then the sponsor of it said that they wanted to take it off the agenda and put it back in committee, and they would bring about, and even Alderman Redpath telling us that he wanted to bring about a more comprehensive plan. But last night, for some reason, I've yet to talk to Alderman Redpath about this, but he moved to take it out of committee and put it up for final passage for next week. So the committee of the whole last night, where they're determining where to put ordinances either on committee for final passage and the consent calendar, or for debates where they could talk about it more. So here's the moment where the e-surfing was brought up, and Alderman McMiniman and Alderman Redpath having a little bit of a back and forth as to what's happening with this particular ordinance and whether anybody's going to be able to talk about it.
I think the gentleman, he's a firefighter. He's here tonight I think you'd like to discuss it if that would be acceptable.
Why don't we wait till next week when everybody can? Because the CWLP has a presentation next week also.
So would it be all right to not put it on debate? Because I think he wants to work on some amendments that might be acceptable.
I made a motion for debate. We're going to bring it out. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to vote on it.
So why not just go ahead and let it happen last night?
Well, I guess I'll vote no then to that.
Did you want to hear from him is what you're saying tonight?
Yeah, I think he's here, and I think he'd just like to offer some ideas about his...
So Alderman McMiniman and Alderman Williams, who's chair of the committee, discussing this on the process of hearing from Matt Shearer of Surf Springfield.
You can speak at the end. We don't need to speak on it now, Mr. Chairman.
Well, that's... No,
okay, I mean, as long as he's allowed to speak. So he's here tonight. He will be heard tonight.
Yeah. And now's the appropriate time to let him talk because it's been put on debate.
Yeah, and here's Alderman Redpath, and we'll hear also from Matt Shearer.
Alderman, want to go first? I'd like to allow Mr. Matt Shearer to offer his ideas if you've got some to present.
We're going to hear from him next week, Joe.
Well, he signed up tonight, so let's just get it over with.
All right, then he won't speak next week.
Yeah.
I would just like to make myself available for any
week.
Questions you have. That's it.
What's really interesting about this is, I mean, they always do give preference to somebody who's going to be impacted by something to speak whenever it's brought up. It's kind of interesting to hear Alderman Redpath say that, he shouldn't speak, and then he shouldn't speak next week even when it's brought up again.
The appropriate time to let him talk because it's been put on debate.
So interesting to hear that, at least from Alderman Redpath.
To speak. So he's here tonight. He will be heard tonight.
Yeah. And now's the appropriate time.
And let's hear now from Matt Shearer.
Alderman, want to go first? I'd like to allow Mr. Matt Shearer to offer his ideas.
To address the first, yes, I am open to any amendments to how we might be able to work with anyone in this community to provide the service to whoever wants to do it. And yes, we are allowed, as far as I am told by the boating law administrator for the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, any body of water that allows swimming, we are allowed to operate these on.
And would you be open-minded to restricting the use of these surfboards to certain days, certain hours, certain areas in the lake?
Whatever might appease whoever is in charge, we would love to work with them.
All right. Thank you for being here tonight.
Well, and then one other question was asked of Matt Shearer, one that he didn't really want to work into this because he says it's not about that.
Last question. Are you a firefighter on the Springfield Fire Department?
I would prefer not to comment on that. I don't like to bring that into this whole thing, hopefully. I'm a citizen who has a business, and that's my approach here.
And you live in the city limits, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
I was born in Peoria, but I am am raised in Springfield. This is my home.
So we'll see what happens next week. This being put on debate agenda. Will Matt Shearer be able to speak when it's brought back up on the debate agenda, or will there be more of this kind of consternation of not allowing him speak, or pushing him to the end of the meeting after it's approved or not approved, or however it happens? But typically, I mean, I've seen it time and again that alder people let somebody who's impacted by an ordinance speak before the ordinance is ultimately passed. So we'll watch that closely, see what happens there. But get out your calendar. All right, a lot of parades coming up, and here's just a list of dates in the parades and what streets are going to be closed in downtown Springfield.
Temporary closure of a portion of Illinois State Route 97, Jefferson Street from 9th Street to 5th Streets for the St. Patrick's Day Parade on March 11th, 2023 for the Office of Public Works.
And another
6th Street from St. Joseph's to Adlai Stevenson Drive for the Peacekeepers fundraiser on July 16, 2023 for the Office of Public Works.
And let's go ahead and hear about another. You're putting this down in your calendar, right?
Jefferson Street from 6th Street to 9th Street for the Powerlight Abe's Car Show Cruise to be held on August 4, 2023 for the Office of Public Works.
All right, moving right along with the rest of the seasons.
Jefferson Street from 5th Street to 9th Street for the annual Halloween Parade to be held on October 28, 2023 for the Office of Public Works.
And one last one to finish up the year.
Jefferson Street from 5th Street to 9th Street for the annual Christmas Parade to be held on December 2nd, 2023 for the Office of Public Works.
So there you go. Make sure that you get those on your calendar so you know what's going on, when the streets are going to be closed, and for what parades. A lot more coming up with the Council Roundup, probably more heat than we expected. And also, just those of you who are looking for amendments to the budget, they did not bring those up last night. So I'm anticipating that they will bring those up to next week whenever they look to finally approve the city budget. So that didn't happen last night. So we'll hear a lot of amendments, I'm sure, to the spending plan next week. But things heated up in the council chambers about the debt that was waived for the Wyndham City Center, and then a resident addressing the council using some words that, well, quite frankly, aren't fit for broadcast. So we'll hear some of that coming up, at least a censored version of it, coming up here in just moments. It is the Council Roundup brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. Don't forget about delivery. Head West Subs. It's now 7:33. All right, back with the Council Roundup brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Not much more time left, but I definitely want to get into some serious issues that were brought up, one of which was a fire contract that Chief Blau talked about, providing fire services towards some of the donuts in city limits, like, you know, Leland Grove or Jerome and other areas where they provide some fire assistance. There was talk about making sure that these areas got rid of their speed bumps, because the speed bumps can cause some problems to heavy fire equipment that are going to respond to fire calls, but also the question about medical calls and just how that can be worked into any kind of contract that the city has with some of these other districts like Leland Grove or Jerome or elsewhere. But let's get right into some of the controversy that came up last night, and we heard about this last week as well. The Illinois Times reporting on it and sparking a conversation about some closed-door audio that we're going to be hearing and the ordinance that's up for consideration. It's about releasing the tapes.
2023-050, a resolution authorizing the release of the minutes and audio recording of the November 2nd, 2021 executive session of the Springfield City Council.
So this is a audio that's it's quite old, but it's apparently going to reveal some of what was talked about behind closed doors about debts that the Wyndham City Center owed the city of Springfield. Here's a little bit of what Alderman McMiniman has to say, in particular about what the rules are for alder people who want to share what happens behind closed doors.
The normal practice is to not discuss or comment upon what takes place in closed executive session, but there are always exceptions to everything.
Well, there isn't.
So that's Alderman Hanauer chiming in there, but obviously the back and forth between the two gets pretty heated.
The rules are there because of the rules. You sat here last week and talked about things that we talked about in there. Now, I don't care if what happens, who does what. It's a free country. Anyone can do a letter. By the way, it wasn't a letter to the editor. It was a post online. And it doesn't give you the right to break rules just because you think that is.
This is a personal attack.
I got the floor, Joe.
That's a personal attack.
You're gonna get your turn. You're next.
You don't have the right to decide, and we'll let the Inspector General decide. That's what he's for. And quite frankly, you do this all the time. If the rules are good for you, you're for them. If they're not good for you, they're not for them. You're not for them. So the fact of the matter is, the rules are the rules. If we discuss something, it should not be discussed, period. Because otherwise, then we might as well forget going in there. We should do everything out here. Because if you're just going to come back out and spill the beans, what's the purpose?
Reminds me of Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they're asking about what are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules? More from the back and forth of Alderman McMiniman and Alderman Hanauer.
In my 12 years on the city council, I've never seen an alderman tell the public that we did not discuss something back there in that room that we in fact did discuss, and that the alderman that says we never discussed it is one of the aldermen that actually discussed it. So it's just called being honest. It's just called being honest with the public. And I'm trying to be honest with the public. I don't know what you're trying to be. And as far as violating rules, what kind of rules are you talking about? I think
McMiniman continues. He talks about what his understanding is of what kind of rules there are.
the rule we have back there about not talking about back there is a good faith expectation. There's no rule that I'm aware of in our city code that says you cannot speak about something that happens back there, but the way we honor it is because we want to encourage our mayor to bring us back there on important matters. And if we run our mouths about what happens back there, the mayor will say, I'm not going to do that because I can't trust the city council. So, in my opinion, I'm not going to let anyone around here get smeared by misrepresenting what took place back there.
And then McMiniman continues, but this seems to set things over the top when it comes to him seeming to call people out.
Our treasurer doesn't go back there with us. So maybe she didn't know what we were talking about, unless someone here kind of clued her in. I don't know that.
Why are you even bringing
Why
it
are you
up?
making
That has
speculations?
nothing to
Come on, guys. Come on. One at a time.
Ridiculous.
Everybody's important. Everybody's gonna be heard, Alderman Redpath. Just put your light on and you'll get your turn, but we're not gonna do this.
So obviously working into the conversation is the election for citywide offices that's coming up. More from Alderman McMiniman.
And I know I'm kind of outnumbered here by some of the loud talkers, but, I know some of them are sensitive because, I understand, Alderman Redpath, you've got a daughter running for a higher office.
Now, why do you got to bring that
Politics
stuff up?
out of
That's
it?
completely
Come on,
out
guys.
of order.
Come on. Okay, so
It's time for you to shut up, Joe.
Come on, guys.
You always do this stuff.
So I just wanted to encourage you to speak that way again, Ralph.
So obviously some passions getting a little heated there, and it didn't stop there. You've got Alderman Hanauer chiming in here as well.
When I said we did not discuss things, I meant we did not discuss things out here for the public to see. Number one, because I'm not talking about what we're doing back there, and we still, up until last week, we have not discussed anything about debt forgiveness. Period.
So Alderman Hanauer saying that he didn't talk about what they talked about behind closed doors. He continues on.
But we did not come back out here. We've never had anything come back out here. We've never voted on anything out here. That was my point. Now, you can say what you want, but I've never discussed anything regarding the debt forgiveness out here in front of the public, which is what we are required to do to vote on things in front of the public.
So more from last night's hearing on this and the continued back and forth about releasing audio of an executive session concerning the debt forgiveness conversation.
We haven't even discussed it out here. And for you to tell me, you want to say that I'm a liar?
That's your word.
So obviously things getting heated, and where do you go from here? It's a good question, but you had some alder people saying that there really shouldn't be politics played in front of the horseshoe, especially with just as many days before we've got an election. So again, some pretty heated stuff there, and I think this really just highlights the just how far things got in the conversation.
Time for you to shut up, Joe.
Again, that was Alderman Chuck Redpath raising his voice at Alderman Joe McMiniman. All right, I want to get to the tail end here of the meeting where a resident addressed the council. I just want to cue this up, make sure.
If you could say without the.
All right, yep. So here we go. This is just take a final few moments here. This is a citizen who addressed the council last night using some words that, well, quite frankly, I had to censor.
Go ahead, sir, whenever you're ready.
Appreciate it. This is on the behalf of Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the United States Constitution.
All right, and he goes on.
This is a descriptive form of defamation of character to curb the violence and the behavior of and
Whoa.
and
Whoa.
This is what is caused to use to stimulate. All I'm asking you all to do is to become conscious and become aware, to curb the word, to terminate the word as a proclamation.
Obviously had
as
to
it
edit
can
that.
be done.
Well, come
These
on.
words, wait, excuse me,
using them?
wait a second. This is,
using
I
them?
was here in a business establishment, right? Wait a second. It's not about what you, wait a second, bro. This is, we talking about non-discrimination though. All I'm saying, I'm not using the word, I'm saying to eliminate the word.
Well,
By saying the word.
but you were using
By
it.
saying the word. Because it was used towards me.
Okay.
It was used in an area that I was in a business on the north side, and the guy was playing pool, and the guy felt like the other guy didn't feel like he was playing right, so he called it, he said it was a pool.
All right. Well, again, had to censor that, and then he went on to talk more.
If you could say without the words, we know the words
Okay,
you're using. Just
okay.
get to the, yeah.
Another word was,
Hey, come on.
okay,
Sure, you
oh
just
my
asked him not to
God.
use the words.
That's not this is the second word.
It doesn't matter.
So curse words in public forums is the
Okay.
problem. People are listening on the TV and radio or wherever else, and it's just not proper is why you're catching the pushback. So if we can try to, we got it here in writing.
incredible.
What you said,
Yeah, we
brother.
got it in
I
writing.
understand
That's
what
incredible.
you're saying.
So ultimately, that resident, he wanted the city council to pass some kind of ordinance that would levy fines against people who use these derogatory terms towards certain people of ethnic background, or derogatory terms towards women, or using them to, talk bad about anybody. And Alderman quickly put the kibosh to that conversation, said that's not a place to talk here about it. So they went on and they adjourned last night's meeting. And that's your council roundup last night. With Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, it's brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. Head West Subs. All right.